To the everyday high-level NPC,
I'm going to say one thing, fuck Trump.
high-level politicians, elites and their potential involvement in high-level satanic paedophilia may seem incredulous, but we need to consider that satanic butchery of little ones is nothing new.
Any German fetish parties going on later?
I don't go to fetish parties. I went to one time. I've seen really bad.
Was it like a donkey show or?
No, actually, I think they actually kill people there. They actually kill people there and stuff. They pay like up to like 100,000 people to see people get
Executed?
I'm not kidding. But I went to another one where literally I saw like the grossest. I wanted to throw up.
Indeed, the Canaanites of the Old Testament used to throw their kids into the fire to appease the heathen god Moloch.
And thou shalt not let any of thy seed pass through the fire to Moloch, neither shalt thou profane the name of thy God. I am the Lord.
Ex-banker Ronald Bernard is a man on a God-ordained mission, a man who has been blowing up the internet with allegations and revelations on how he would be invited to join a satanic cult whilst working in the world of high finance.
Greed is right. Greed works.
Further into Ronald's testimony, Ronald goes on to disclose that he would eventually be asked to participate in child sacrifice which Ronald declined.
To put it carefully, most of these people followed a not very mainstream religion. So, you have Catholics, Protestants, all sorts of religions. These people, most of them, were Luciferians. And then you can say, religion is a fairy tale. God doesn't exist. None of that is real. Well, for these people, it is truth and reality. And they served something immaterial, what they called Lucifer. So, I went to places called churches of Satan. I visited these churches, just as a visitor dropped by. And then they were doing their holy mass with naked woman and liquor and stuff. And it just amused me. I didn't believe in any of this stuff, and was far from convinced if any of this was real. But then at some point, I was invited, which is why I'm telling you all this, to participate in sacrifices. Abroad. That was the breaking point. Children.
You were asked to do that?
Yes. And I couldn't do that. And then I started to slowly break down. I lived through quite a lot as a child myself, and this really touched me deeply. Everything changed. I had not participated. The purpose of the whole thing, eventually, in that world, is that they have everybody in their pocket. You need to be susceptible to blackmail. And blackmailing me proved to be very hard if I look back on it. They wanted to do that through those children. And that broke me.
Is that, you are not telling me something new, what they also do in politics?
Unfortunately, the truth is, that worldwide they have been doing this for thousands of years. And in the Bible you find references to these practices with Israelites. The reason the first 10 tribes were banished to Babylonia was because of these rituals with children, including the sacrificing of children. So this is pertinent. All this made me believe, because I realized there was more to life than meets the eye. There is a whole invisible world. It is real.
In 2018, Robert Davis Steele, ex-CIA, delivered powerful testimony on satanic paedophilia to the ITNJ, International Tribunal for Natural Justice.
Let me say that although pedophilia, which says child love, has nothing to do with the abuse of children, these children are not just kidnapped and in some cases bred by families as a cash crop. We have people in the United States of America that breed children in order to sell them. And when they are sold, they come without birth certificates, which means it's easier to kill them and have no one ask where they are. We're also importing children by the plane load. Again, children who have no documentation. It's not just child slavery or child sex abuse. It's also child torture. Child torture. Because you have adrenalized blood. You have the whole blood drinking ceremony of the satanic world. The satanic world.
The moral compass of the world, Hollywood.
Focus, right? And make daddy love you. And make daddy love you. Sexy baby?
Sexy baby.
Sexy baby. All right, get up.
Talk dirty to me. Talk dirty to me.
Hollywood reference to adrenalized blood, adrenochrome, in the 1999 film Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. And for the purposes of absolute clarity, pure adrenochrome is harvested by Satanists from the adrenal gland of a live human victim, and as the live human victim is in the process of being tortured, terrified, and ultimately murdered by kings in Satan's service.
Where'd you get this?
Never mind, it's absolutely pure.
What kind of monster client have you hooked up with this time?
Satanism freak. Satanism freak.
I think there's only one source for this stuff. The adrenaline gland from a living human body.
In other testimony, Mr. Steele went on to state in another broadcast that every intelligence agency on the planet uses paedophilia as a way to entrap, blackmail, and control whoever it is that they so desire.
Having been a former spy myself, and having participated on the edges of blackmail but never pedophilia entrapment, I will say it is 100% certain that every intelligence agency in the world, without exception, is using pedophilia and pedophilia entrapment for blackmail purposes.
On December 2nd, 2003, the CIA published an article on their website entitled, quote, CIA, Maker of Policy or Tool, end quote. The article was originally published by the New York Times on April 25th, 1966, and on page 2 of the said document, President John F. Kennedy is quoted as stating to an unnamed high-level official within his administration that he desired to, quote, splinter the CIA in 1,000 pieces and scatter it to the winds, end quote. 2 years after it is alleged that JFK made his, quote, splinter the CIA in 1,000 pieces and scatter it to the winds, end quote, remarks, JFK was forcibly removed from office.
From Dallas, Texas, the flash, apparently official, President Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time.
And earlier this year, Trump Club became aware of video documentary that clearly demonstrates that 2 of the Secret Service men that had been assigned to protect JFK and his motorcade were inexplicably ordered to stand down immediately and just before JFK's very public and very despicable execution.
Everything seemed normal. That is, up until this instant. What took place is so odd that we're going to examine the scene 4 more times. Watch the left side of your screen. The arrow points to Agent in Charge, Amory Roberts, as he stands in the Secret Service follow-up car and motions with his hand. What he is doing is calling away the President's 2 most important bodyguards, the bodyguards whose job was to protect the President's back by riding on the bumper of the limousine throughout the motorcade. Watch again as he stands and orders the agents running at the rear of the President's car away. Watch the confusion inside the follow-up car that results. Now watch the right side of your screen. The arrow points to one of 2 agents whose job was to hop aboard the bumper and act as human shields. He's obviously perplexed. Watch as he shrugs his shoulders 3 times in dismay. Watch as he shrugs his shoulders 3 times in dismay, each shrug more dramatic than the last.
It is a matter of public record that after World War II, an estimated 1,600 members of the Nazi Party were secretly transferred to more accommodating climes in both North and South America via the Vatican rat lines under Operation Paperclip. with perhaps the most famous Nazi Party member of all, Werner von Braun, going on to lead NASA's rocketry program, with many of von Braun's fellow Nazis going on to be aggressively recruited
aggressive expansion
by both the FBI and the CIA, with the New York Times reporting on October 26, 2014. At the height of the Cold War in the 1950s, law enforcement and intelligence leaders like J. Edgar Hoover at the FBI and Allen Dulles at the CIA aggressively recruited one-time Nazis of all ranks as secret anti-Soviet assets, declassified records show. They believed the ex-Nazis' intelligence value against the Russians outweighed what one official called moral lapses in their service to the Third Reich. End quote.
And your mother is voting for Trump. She's voting for Trump.
On April 27, 1961, President John F. Kennedy made the speech that many independent JFK researchers that don't drink from the Kool-Aid of the corporate-controlled criminal news media, believe is the moment that deep state New World Order operatives concluded that Mr. Kennedy needed to be expunged.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day.
As to the New World Order and the creation of a one-world government, it is my understanding that normies and NPCs still consider the New World Order to be conspiracy theory.
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order.
I think a new world order is emerging.
And we'd have a new world order.
And you pick the people to run those agencies and the deputies that are pledging allegiance to the new world order and good governance.
We've got to give them a stake in creating the kind of world order that I think all of us would like to see.
Taking into account the nefarious, underhanded, backdoor shenanigans of the CIA over the decades, and the CIA's overly zealous desire to implement regime change and start wars all over the place, it is Trump Club's position that there is no other immediate alternative more desirable than for President Donald J. Trump to finish what JFK tried to start, and to splinter the CIA in 1,000 pieces and scatter it to the winds in Trump's inevitable second term. This is the only outcome that the angels consider satisfactory.
These people are sick. These people are sick. They're sick. They're sick. They're sad, sad people. Sad people. And on top of everything else, we've had a soundly defeat. We're in the process of doing it. It's much deeper than I thought. The deep staters, right? The deep staters, right? We had to beat it. It's deeper. You know, the swamp and the swamp creatures are much deeper and much worse than we ever thought. And there is such a thing as the deep state. Who would think?
outside is frightful, but the fire is so delightful. Since we've no place to go,
2 days after.
2 days
Let
after.
it snow,
so
let it
October
snow,
7th,
Wiki. October 7th.
Doesn't show signs
Let's
of
just
stopping. Got some corn for popping. The lights are turned down low.
And yes, the Russians helped them last time. The Russians are helping them now.
When we finally kiss goodnight, how I'll
I'll leave it to you to speculate on how this whole race is going to go.
Fire is slowly dying.
I continue to believe Mr. Trump will not be president.
We're still goodbying. Long as you love me so, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow.
He's sitting by the fire. It's 109 degrees. He just said, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. Ooh-wee goes the star. Why should he worry when he's nice and warm? His gal by his side and the lights burn low. He just said,
my name's Forrest Gump. You want a chocolate?
Weather outside is frightful, but that fire
I could eat about 1.5 million of these.
Since we've no place to
My
go,
mom always said,
let it snow,
life
let it
was
snow,
like
let
a
it
box
snow.
of chocolates.
It doesn't show signs of stopping.
Want some candy?
And I've got lots of corn
Want
for
some
popping.
candy?
The lights are way down low, so let it snow, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. When we finally say goodnight, how I'll hate going out in the storm. But if you'll only hold me tight, all the way home I'll be warm.